Wally Ali is called Images, and welcome. I'm Bernie Hayes. This is the Bernie Hayes Show. And it's a very appropriate tune to open up today's session. And I have with us Mr. Jeffrey Blair, Priest Jeffrey Blair. Jeffrey Blair of the Israelite Nation World Ministries. Welcome, Mr. Blair.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, should I call you Priest? I don't know. What's the title?
Priest Jeffrey is
Priest
fine.
Jeffrey,
sure.
And welcome. And who do I have with us today, sir?
I also have my son, Jeffrey, as well as my nephew, Christopher.
Welcome. Tell us about the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries.
Well, Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries is a religious body that's dedicated to restoring the Israelite culture to our communities. We are very much aware that the song, I want to say that song was very appropriate, as you said, you know, that the condition that our communities face are a result of us not really understanding how deeply enslaved we are in a spiritual sense. We have so many remnants that are still within us, left over from slavery, that although the chains have fallen off of our arms over 100 years ago, we still suffer from low self-esteem. We still suffer from inability to progress and move forward. And after all this time, we still cling to those images, those philosophies of the people who actually enslaved us. And it's our mission is to try to unlift that veil that's over our eyes to see the truth about who we truly are, which are children of the Almighty God. And so to just be very clear and frank is that, we are the people of the book. We are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is their blood that runs through our veins. And as we read the scriptures, we see that it is our story, our history, that is being told. And so, when we read the scriptures, we have to understand it in that way. It's our family history. It's our book, the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's not sugar-coated. And when we look at it in that way through our own eyes, and not through the eyes of a philosophy that was put upon us and beat into us, then we can clearly understand why we are in the condition that we're in.
Okay, Jeffrey, Priest Jeffrey Blair, Priest Jeffrey, had everybody try to make this a very diverse or program, and we've had on Christians naturally, and we've had Islam. More Zion Temple I haven't heard from, and sometimes, and the Jewish community. But Hebrew Israelites, how do you differ from the Hebrew Israelites? I used to have them on as a regular basis too. How does your ministry differ from the Hebrew Israelites?
There are various sects of Israelites. The common belief really is the understanding of we are the descendants of the children of the book.
Sure.
We are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the children of Israel. And we are in the condition that we're in because of our disobedience. And that the only way for us to be restored as a people is to return to our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And that's the commonality that we have. Other groups have other beliefs that are sort of added to that we don't necessarily subscribe to, and there are some differences. But at the same time, that is the common theme, that we try to uphold and we try to teach. And there's one thing definitely that I want to make sure, sometimes whenever we speak about uplifting our communities, sometimes people translate that to some type of racism or prejudice, and that's not what we're talking about. To love myself and my people is not to hate someone else. And so that's something that distinguishes us, is that our focus really is not about other people. Our focus really is focusing from within ourselves to rebuild ourselves. And although other people were the conduit of our demise, the truth is that we hold the future within our hands, and it's our responsibility to stand tall and firm and true, and to be that light to ourselves, to our young people, to the community, to say that this is the path that we should walk to uplift ourselves in spite of that. The way that I look at it is, it's not that some other people were stronger than us and put us into the condition that we were in. It's that we allowed ourselves to become so weakened spiritually, so that our God and our Father was put us into this condition because of our disobedience. And if I may, I can backtrack and just sort of give a little timeline so that we can kind of put this into perspective.
That's what I want you to do.
When I was born into the Christian church. I was Christian, baptized. I went to church every week. I went to church school. So I really was indoctrinated into the Christian religion, believed it and embraced it. But then as I got older,
what particular faith? Baptist?
Seventh-day Adventist, actually.
Okay. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
And as I became older and started to see the world through my own eyes, my parents did the best they could and taught me the best that they knew. And so I don't discredit that whatsoever. They taught me what they were taught and what their parents were taught and what their grandparents were taught, and so on and so forth. But as I grew older and saw the world through my own eyes, I saw the hypocrisy. I saw the racism, the prejudice, the oppression, the lie. And again, not to offend anybody, but I just just give you my experience. And my question always was, when our forefathers first came to this land, taken from the western coast of Africa, brought over to the Caribbean, to America, to South America through slave ships, a large number being dumped into the sea. And there are two things that had to be done to every slave before they got in that boat, passing that point of no return. Number one, their name had to be changed. They had to be given a Christian name. Number two, they had to be baptized. And we got to think about that. Why was that so necessary? Why was it so important to do that to our forefathers? And so we see that, of course, at that time, people, our forefathers would rebel against that, but they had no choice because they really had no recourse. But now, as we fast forward and to these days where there's no chains, we don't have to, we gladly gravitate to the philosophy and to the religion of the people who oppressed us. How is it possible that a people can teach us about love or about our God? And these are the same people who raped our forefathers, the same people who tore our families apart, the same people who raped our daughters. And we can go into the very real horrors of slavery and the things that they did. But, I just want to put that there in perspective to understand, where I'm coming from in my journey, observing the world as around me. And, it's very important to us that we keep that fresh in our mind. But I also understand why people would want to not remember that, because it's a horrible thing. Who wants to remember something as tragic as that? It'd be better if we could just put it aside and just, keep moving. The problem is that until we face up to that reality, we can never really understand why we are in the condition that we're in. It's directly related to that. And one of the problems of that is that we continually follow the philosophy and guidelines of those people that oppressed us. When we think about freedom, the freedom that we try to identify with is the freedom of the people who are free that are around us. But look at it this way: I have children, and God forbid if anyone ever took them away from me, I would just die. But just for the sake of analogy, if they were taken away to some far distant land and forced to conform to those people, whatever ways or customs they may have, I would understand that. I wouldn't fault them for it. But at some point, if they were, quote unquote, made free, no longer locked into the barrel or locked into the cage or locked in the basement, I would hope that they would think to come home. I would hope that they would think, well, who is my father? And not just, give in to, what was around them. So it's when I came across as I grew older, this thought pattern and the experiences that I faced as a young man, looking for work and trying to make my way into this world, I started to reject the Bible and started saying the answer is not here, because the people who taught this to me do not live what they preach, and so I have nothing to do with this. But I'm so thankful to the God of my fathers, to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that he put Elder Shadrach, into my life to teach me the truth about who we are. And he's the one who told me to take another look at the Bible, but this time take off the blinders or the filter of Christianity, of what was taught to us and to our forefathers, and pretend you came from another planet and you know nothing about anything, and open that book and read it. And tell me, what do you see? And when I started to read it, Mr. Hayes, I got to tell you, it did something to me. It opened my eyes. But I got to say, it wasn't like a one-night thing. It took me a while to even take that course seriously, because I was so deeply entrenched. Even though I rebelled against it, that still was deeply entrenched into what I was taught from the time I was, knee high. And as that song said, the images. There's no one that ever came to me that said Jesus or God is white. Those words were never uttered into my ears. But as it says, pictures paint 1,000 words and lasting images into our psyche. And it says so many things to us. So when I started to take it seriously and started to really look at it, I saw that this story of Abraham and being given the covenant by God by the Creator, and then having that covenant passed down to Isaac and then to Jacob, and then Jacob's name being turned to Israel, and then his 12 sons and their descendants going down to Egypt, and eventually over time going into slavery. That's our story. And when I read back and read that, and I saw how Moses was sent to take the children of Israel out of Egypt, and that whole course, I am reminded of our enslavement here, and how the slaves here in America identified so much with the children of Israel in the scriptures. And first you wondered, well, why is that? Well, people in captivity, maybe there's some bond there. But what I didn't realize is that they relate to them because they are them, And when you look at the scriptures, and again, anyone who is listening, I would recommend to do that. Try to look through it through our own eyes and not through the eyes that were painted to us. After the children of Israel were taken out of Egypt, they were free. And you would think, okay, well, Moses' job is over. But what he didn't, I don't know if he realized at the time, but as you look back, we see his job had just begun. The most difficult part was not breaking the physical chains. The most difficult part was breaking the spiritual chains out of the psychic of the children, out of the people.
Okay. Priest Jeffrey Blair. I've got to come back. I want to ask you some more questions. I want
Sure.
you to also introduce our guest. And now returning to Priest Jeffrey Blair. Priest Jeffrey, you're from the Israelite Nation World Ministries, and you have two guests in the studio with us. Identify them, and what is their purpose?
Yes. My son, Jeffrey Jr. is here, as well as my nephew, Christopher. And as, part of, explaining to your audience what Israelite Nation World Ministry is about,
Sure.
figure the proof is in the pudding. It's not just about debating the Bible or theology or anything like that, but it's real solutions to real problems. And the problems that we have in our communities stem from instability of the family, the instability of the children, which are our future. And so one of the main priorities that we have in Israelite Nation World Ministries is focusing on our youth, as instructed by our Father, which when Moses gave the laws to our forefathers, he said, you are to write them in your hands, write them in your forehead, write them on your doorstep, in and out, in of your home, out of your home, while you're walking in the street, and make sure that you teach your children and your children's children. And what I brought my young people here because I wanted them to also express about their thoughts and what they're going through as far as Israel and how it has benefited their lives, to be actual representations to see that this works.
You're the facilitator?
So, I'll start with Jeffrey, who was past president of the Rise Youth Group, which was a youth organization in New Jersey, actually, in Newark, New Jersey. It's based, and it's you tell us a little bit about it, and passing through it now, moving on to college. What is Rise about, and how has it benefited you?
Well, the Rise organization has really helped me personally, just as it helps all of us youth to really see the potential in each member, in each youth, and to really understand the things that are going around us.
How old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
And the things that are around us, and just to really see that we are youth with a lot of potential. We're youth with a lot of strength, but we just need the right people and the resources around us to help us grow. If a seed is planted, it needs the right resource in order to grow to a strong tree. And so, as youth, we need the right resources. as well. And so being in a community such as Newark, where the Rise organization is, you see a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of violence and drugs, and a lot of failing in schools, and just really negative things. But when you put the right resources there, you see how much potential these youth have. And I personally have witnessed that in myself, and seeing the potential that is inside of me. And Rise really helped to bring that out, and to really help me to see the importance of education and how far education can really take you. And so
I used to live in Newark, and it's unbelievable the similarities between Newark, New Jersey, and St. Louis, Missouri.
Absolutely.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Jeffrey, but continue, please.
Okay. And yeah, so really, seeing this negativity, I'm just really trying to pursue education to the best of my ability. And I realized that I had a really strong passion in science and in creative writing, and so much so that I sought to start college early. I first took my first college course when I was 13 years old at Columbia University as a summer program. I then took another one the following summer at Harvard University, and from there I went to Bard College at Simon's Rock in Massachusetts. And it's been a great experience there, but really I just want to show the youth back home in Newark, and I go there all the time just to show them the potential that they have, and to show them that that I was once in their position, but was able to see my own potential, and to be able to see my own strength. And it was through Rise that helped me to see that, and through Israel. And so through that, I was able to see the importance of education, and through that is how I got where I am today. And it is through Rise that I gave a lot of my credit, and to Israel as well.
Did you ever have an ambition to pick up a gun or to sell drugs or do any participate in any of those activities?
No, nothing that crazy, nothing like that. But just being in that environment, and I have a lot of close friends that did fall prey to that. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I have my father and my mother as well. But I had some very close friends who are spending time in jail right now, who have fell victim to drugs and to crime and to gang activity. Mm-hmm. And but they it's really sad, but they didn't have what I had as far as Rise and as far as Israel, and through what I tried to give them is really all they have. But one person can only do so much.
Do they listen to you?
I've had some friends that took to Rise, but then like when you have so many resources that are around you, all spreading the message of negativity,
pulling at you.
Yeah, and then you have that one voice that says positive things. The positive things that they can get drowned out by so much negativity. So it's really difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's a good focal point as far as the word education. It's not just education for education's sake. It's the right education. The scriptures tell us that my people suffer for a lack of knowledge, and the worst knowledge to be void of is the knowledge of self. Once you start with the knowledge of self and who you are, then you start to insulate yourself from a lot of negativities that are around you. And the when we talk about education, we're talking about we teach them that strive for the best, but at the same time you understand that your accomplishments have to be tied to benefiting the family and the community. It's not about just getting what you can get and keep it moving. It's about making sure that you continually not just come back, but never really leave, because you need to be that light. If everyone who accomplishes something ends up leaving, then we're left with nothing. And that's why we see that void happening in our community. We have to be committed that our purpose is to go get knowledge and bring it back to everyone else and the masses, so we all can benefit. And that's what we teach our young people. So Christopher is in high school, and he's currently the president of Rise in Newark. And tell us some of the things that you've accomplished there in Newark.
Basically, just
how old are you? Also,
I'm 16 years old.
16, okay.
With Rise, just understanding what Rise really is. Actually, Rise, RISE, which is restoring Israelite, restoring intelligence through self-awareness and education. And basically, what we do in Rise, we're trying to give the youth basically a voice and have them realize who they are actually, and have more leaders in our community so they could realize who they are, so they can better themselves, and not only just better themselves, but how to better the people that surround them, so they could better the community altogether. And basically, what Rise has done for me, basically before, I didn't really know really what I wanted, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go. And basically, with Rise, they just gave me a foundation of what I wanted to do, and they just gave me a kind of a structure, and kind of I was more organized. And we have a lot of stuff that Rise has done. Like, we have a lot of workshops. We've done a lot of things in Newark. We came to schools. We came to children directly, and we talked to them. And we do a lot of public speaking. And we have recently, well, what we do is on Black History Month, we go to the schools, and we will have plays. And we'll have plays about our heritage, and because basically what we need to know is learn about our past, so that we can know what we want to do in the future. So that's basically what Rise is about.
Okay. Let me, Priest Jeffrey, is there a meeting place in St. Louis?
Well, as I spoke to you earlier through email, I've just moved here from New Jersey.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I really appreciate you having me on the show, because we're just getting started here, actually.
Okay.
And so we do have a website, IsraeliteNation.com. Email St. Louis at IsraeliteNation.com.
Send them a slower so people can write it.
Okay, sure. IsraeliteNation.com.
IsraeliteNation.com. Okay.
And email at St. Louis at IsraeliteNation.com. And we will be starting up in February regular meetings, so that people can learn more about Israel, more about our history and our culture, and to start some of the successes that we've had in New Jersey, to try to duplicate them there, especially when it focuses around the youth.
Okay, you'll keep us involved.
Absolutely.
And informed, so we can also inform our listening audience.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And always, always go to the website, and they'll be updating there as well. Even now.
It's a beautiful website. It's unbelievable. I mean, what a wonderful website it is.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And also, I'm not sure if you had a chance, but Israelite Nation Music Mix Show every Monday evening, which is it's been characterized as the New Negro Spirituals. It's a sort of open forum for music for young people to send in their music that's on a positive vibe. And Priest Kurt Anderson is the MC there, and does a great job of really circulating the music that's out there. And it's Mr. Hayes, it's very, very encouraging to see when you're giving young people the opportunity, as Jeffrey said, in the resources, they really shine beyond your ability. Our children are brilliant, and it's to me, the saddest thing is to see that lost potential. And so after coming into the understanding of Israel and understanding for myself, I've devoted my life and every breath of my life to help restoring this community. And it doesn't matter where my life takes me, if it takes me to St. Louis or New Jersey or wherever it takes me, wherever I'm going to try to connect to make sure that where I'm at, I'm going to try to make a difference, because we need those lights in our communities to be a light to our young people.
Let me ask Christopher and Jeffrey Jr., because you have embraced the Israelite faith, do your Christian friends or anybody else from any other communities or religions make fun of you or anything, or say anything disparaging about you?
No, not necessarily. Some of my friends, really understand Israel, but don't really that feel it's not really for them.
Okay.
Because they've been, in Christianity for so long that it's really hard to make that big change.
Okay. I'm going to come back and ask some more questions to you. And I'm sure there's some people out there who want to talk to you right now. But let's go to this. We'll be right back. Priest Jeffrey Blair is our guest today from the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. And sir, you says you're actually involved in numerous community-based projects addressing issues facing our community, including areas of spirituality and culture, and also education,
yes,
family life, and entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
How are you doing that?
Well, I'm new here to St. Louis, and so that's events that we've partaken in worldwide, in New Jersey, in Toronto, Canada, Florida, Texas, England, and it's something that I'd like to duplicate here, because we've seen some very good successes. And basically, it doesn't take A lot. Just a few people that are really committed to change, committed to put in a couple hours a week to sit and talk and discuss, important, relevant facts about our history, about our future, and about, what we're doing. It takes planning. It doesn't have something that just happens. And so we try to create that type of environment for people, and not just in Bible thumping, but also in practical things such as, how should we raise our children? How do we help them in this environment that seeks to devour them?
I want to open up the phone lines if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Area 314-448-4325 is our phone number, 448-4325. And outside of the area, toll-free 1-877-920-9468. And we're broadcasting live on the web at WGNU920am.com. Appreciate for having me to interrupt you, but there's so many different things. There's a meeting tomorrow about the youth killing each other. Is St. Louis the most dangerous city? How are you addressing that issue? How will you address it?
Absolutely. I would like to attend that as well. Mm-hmm. And we've had some nonviolent rallies in New Jersey as well. Newark definitely has its challenges. And like you said earlier, when I came to St. Louis, I really didn't know too much about it other than some of the history that I've heard. Mm-hmm. And then actually coming here, and I got to tell you, driving through our communities, it sort of took me back to some areas in Newark, and it's really sad, because you could see that once there was a history here, but then it sort of has diminished down to really nothing. And our children are a byproduct of that. We look at our youth and the issues that they go through, and we kind of want to point the finger, but really we got to point the finger at ourselves, because the children are the fruit that spring from us as the tree. And if there's something wrong with the fruit, then we have to really re-examine ourselves and the priorities that we put within ourselves. Because if we don't focus on our youth, we end up losing our way, because we're here for but a moment, a couple decades, and then we want to make sure that our existence here does something to benefit those that are yet to come. When we think about our family and our commitment to our family, we're not just talking about those that are living here with us, but we're talking about those that have gone on from before, as well as those that have yet to be born. And we have to think ourselves in that way, so that our time here, when people look back, they will say, Jeffrey contributed to the legacy of our family in a positive way. And if enough people make that type of commitment, we can really start making some progress as far as denting and putting down, bringing down some of these negativities that are happening within our community. I think, I applaud the different individuals that are putting together some of these rallies, and I definitely want to partake in that. And that's one of the things, too, when I communicated with you as well, is that, to express and to have the opportunity to tell your audience about some of the projects that, I will be initiating as I'm new here, but also to let you know that I am also open to participating in programs as well. As you spoke about earlier, I asked earlier about other Israelite groups, other Islamic groups or Christian groups, and we do have our differences, but we have to learn to get beyond those when it comes to issues that are as important as our children, to make sure that we do work together for the greater good that benefits all of us. So I'm not going to sit back and say, because it's not a group sponsored by me or by an Israelite, that I'm not going to partake. I'll partake and willing to work and collaborate with anyone who has a progressive agenda and helping for a positive change in our community.
That's what we were talking about earlier. In fact, the past few weeks, we're saying there's so many different groups wanting the same thing, but they're not networking. It doesn't seem like there's a big network. You're doing this, and he's doing that, she's doing that, they're doing that over there, and they're not coming together. Occasionally, they do. Malcolm says they don't hang you because you're black, or because you're Christian, rather. They don't hang you because you're Jewish. They hang you because you're black. Mm-hmm. So he says, leave your religion in the closet if you can come together and do positive things. What do you gentlemen think, young men, 16 or 17 years old, when you hear about the violence in your community, when you see brothers like you, look like you, killing each other, slanging dope, what goes through your mind? And
I mean, it really is the saddest thing to see people with such great potential. Like I said before, I mean, if you see these youth and these children, they really have a lot of talent and a lot of gifts, but they're just using the gifts in the wrong way. They can be leaders, they can be the best dancers or singers, that they're brilliant children, but without the right resources, without someone who is there to push them and do and to give them a mirror of their potential, they're going to fall prey to the negativity. But it's really the saddest thing to see a people with such great potential and great might come to such low terms. It's really
Christopher?
Basically, when I see that happening in our communities, I've have friends that's happened to. Like, they've fallen prey to all the negativity, and not only friends, I also have family who's fallen prey to that. A lot of my cousins are in jail because of things that they have done, because they fall prey to what everybody else is doing. And basically, what Jeffrey said, it just needs somebody there to, because most of the things they didn't even know. It's not saying what they don't know what they're doing is wrong, but they just don't have anybody telling them to do the right thing. They don't have anybody there, being there with them, just doing the right thing. Because when a lot of people are going one way, it's hard for you to go the other way. So,
Priest Jeffrey, history and education, what part should that play in our uplifting and our spirituality?
Oh, that's key. That's the number one thing. I think someone said it earlier. If you don't know where you've been, then you really don't know where you are, where you're going. And it's important for us to understand collectively as a people where we've been. Again, that's why, as I was telling my story earlier, looking a second look at the Bible and seeing myself and my history in there really put things in perspective. Because what we're going through is not unique. It's not the first time it's happened to us. If you look at the scriptures, unfortunately so, most of the scriptures are our forefathers in captivity. From the time they have left Egypt, they were given the law, statutes, and commandments to keep as their guidebook, as their wisdom, as it's called, to make them a peculiar people. That was God's goal. But continually, we would turn our back on it. And if you look at the book of Judges, continue over and over again, we were put into slavery. If you look at when we were taken into Babylon, the stories of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are them in slavery in Babylon. The story of Esther is they're in slavery in Persia, Assyria. When Jesus the Christ came, Romans were over them. So continually, all those stories are about our stiff-necked people, us not wanting to really see the truth. When Jesus the Christ came and tried to talk to them and teach them, they didn't want to hear it, because they were saying, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear about freedom from the Romans. That's all we care about. And he's trying to teach them something more, something in putting the focus on ourselves and reforming ourselves in terms of going back to our Father, to his laws, his statutes and commandments. And that's the message has not changed. That's what we still need today in 2011.
I have a guy on the phone who wants to make a comment to you. Phone number is 448-4325. Craig Riggins, are you there? Craig, are you there?
Yes, good morning, Bernie, and good morning to your distinguished guest.
Good morning,
I'm really pleased to hear the content of the show, because I talk about the children of Israel all the time and compare them to our modern times. When Moses gathered Israel and they were released and gained their freedom, some of them wanted to stay. And some, they did leave, well, not all, but a lot of them left reluctantly. And even throughout the journey, being backed up against the Red Sea and between Pharaoh's army, and they didn't believe then, and all the struggles they had gone through. And even when Moses went up on Sinai and got the message and came back, it was appalled at the debauchery and such that was going on. And it's so comparable to what we see today. Our modern day Moses, Martin Luther King, and the advances that we made and have taken advantage of because of his work. And we now see kids being disrespectful, people sitting at the back of the bus, people discarding the importance of education. And so the message is bondage is easy, freedom is difficult. And I just want to commend you, brother, for what you're bringing to St. Louis. And it's very necessary, and it's very powerful. I haven't hit your website yet, but as soon as I hang up, I'm going to do that as well. But I just want to wish you good luck and much success here in St. Louis, because goodness knows it is needed. I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and it's so true. And the similarities between the children of Israel and the scriptures and us here today is because we are the same people, and we continue to relive our enslavement because we're not able or we refuse to listen to the truth about who we are and following and living accordingly to that. And just as the children of Israel, as you said, rightly so, left in Egypt, even when they got through the Red Sea, even when they were, physically away from Egypt, the influence is so deeply within them that, they had to wander for 40 years until that generation that left Egypt died off, because they were so entrenched into the traditions and philosophy of Egypt that the God of Israel was like, no, I can't do anything with you.
Couldn't change. Rosa's on line one. Rosa has a question or a comment for you. Rosa, are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My question is this. What age is appropriate to start teaching your children about their history? Because some of the history is very, there's some bad things that have happened, and sometimes children could get upset, or even an adult could get upset reminiscing about the history. So how do you balance out teaching about the history and teaching the good and the bad together? So what age do you think is appropriate, and how do you balance it out?
Thank you.
Yeah, very good question. When we talk about Israel is the doctrine of Israel, Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries it's not a religion. It's a culture, and it's restoring the laws, statutes, commandments as the God of Israel gave us when He took us out of Egypt. And in those laws are contained how do we raise our children? What is it that we do within our marriage to make sure we support one another and have stable families? How does the community, so it starts from a very early age, so that they are going to be influenced with the culture of Israel, and in that culture is our events that help tell the story of Israel. For example, we have the Passover. And the Passover talks about how we were freed from Egypt. We have Purim, which talks about our deliverance when Queen Esther was able to deliver our forefathers from ultimate destruction. We have our Sabbaths. We have our new moons. See, when you're living by the culture continually reinforces our history within ourselves. The history is not just about slavery. That's one part of it. And that helps put perspective to understanding of why we're in the condition that we're in. But it doesn't start and end there. That's just, again, one part of it.
We've got about a minute left.
Okay.
And I just want to say thank you. Is there any contact numbers people can reach you?
Absolutely, yes. Number is 314-720.
720.
0983.
0983. That's 720. 0983.
Right, and again, www.israelitenation.com.
And your name again?
My name is Priest Jeffrey Blair.
Spell it, Blair.
Blair, Blair.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Thank both Jeffreys, Senior and Junior. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
Thank you both, and good luck to you all. And whenever we can help you, we're here for you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Thank you.